What's up? It is the Sports Live on a Friday before Christmas weekend. Hope everybody's had a great week. Hope everybody's getting set for a nice, relaxing, fun Christmas weekend here on A to Z Sports, wrapping up our week with a little Titans talk about style or no style for this Titans offense. We've got a Titans veteran and Tim Kelly not necessarily agreeing fully on these comments. So we'll have a good conversation about, who do you agree with more about the Titans offensive style or lack thereof. And Sam, we did some good work on this throughout the week at Titans practice to figure out what is the style of this offense. Why don't they have a style? The player doesn't think there's a style. Tim Kelly pushes back on that a little bit. So we've got some good back and forth here. And then we'll talk some more about Caleb Farley, who did speak to Titans media yesterday for the first time in quite some time. And Sam, I know you've got some thoughts on Caleb Farley being back at Titans practice. Then we'll send it out. We got a BetMGM pick for you guys. My trend is back on the board. And I think I've just proved that BetMGM is watching. Like actually watching, this is real. And so we'll get to that, and then we'll get to Ain't That Good News to send us to the weekend. Sam, what's up? Hope you've had a good week. Welcome in.
Yeah, hey, let's have a good show today. Before we jump into all of these topics we got going and dive into the truth behind this offense, make sure everybody out there watching shares the show. That is most important, first and foremost. If you're watching on Facebook, hit the share button and get that out on your Facebook feed. Get that out to all of your Facebook friends and introduce them to A to Z Sports. If you're watching on YouTube, take that YouTube link and send it to a group chat. Find a Titans fan in your life and send it their way as well. That's the best way to support us as we continue to grow the A to Z Sports family and the community every morning. Before we kick things off here on a Friday morning and the last show before Christmas, Austin.
Yeah, well, I've got game day.
Oh, that's true. Well, I will be at the game day, so
you
I will
will
not
be
be
at
doing
the
a show.
game. Yes, you will be at the game. That's true. But all right, let's get it going officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Sam Phelan, our Titans reporter for A to Z Sports.com, and we are Nashville's on-demand sports.network, going live at weekday mornings at 8 a.m. Central Time. Got to thank our sponsors on Facebook. Our sponsor going live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Got to thank our sponsors for making everything happen on the show. Wilson County Hyundai, WilsonCountyHyundai.com to make them a part of your new car buying process. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans, get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans at fbhp.com/ATOZ. The Aura app, protecting you online and giving you a 2-week free trial at aura.com/ATOZ. And Krebs Kubota, an elite Kubota dealer with 3 great locations in the mid-state and online at KrebsKubota.com. Sam, I will let you set the stage on this. So you've been talking and working on this throughout the week at Titans practice, talking to some players in the locker room. We'll talk to Caleb Farley and hear from Caleb Farley later on in the show. But style or no style with this Titans offense, as there's only 3 games left. And, I don't think there's really been a conversation about this to much depth up until then. But I think you found something fairly interesting here this week at Titans practice.
Yeah, I mean, it all started from the conversation that I think was very popular among the media so far this week, which was really just diving into the mentality of different Titans players and where their motivation comes from. We heard from Will Levis on Wednesday talk about, well, hey, certain guys, it's their stats that lead to certain incentives and bonuses, right? And I don't really have any of that, so it's not important to me, but it's important to them. And so, we got to win and play well for them. And some guys say, hey, it's individual pride. Some guys say, what do you mean motivation? Like, this is just work. I got to show up and do my job. And I got to extend my career. And so people were popping around having these conversations with players. And I got into a conversation with Daniel Brunskill, who was detailing how the Titans need to approach these last 3 games as a building block for 2024. He had a lot of emphasis on the idea of building young guys, building up younger players, practice squad guys who just haven't played a ton of NFL football. And he said something I found very interesting, and we'll play the video here in a moment, which is when he said he doesn't feel like the Titans ever really had a style on offense this year. And so I proceeded to have a follow-up question and a couple really good conversations with Daniel Brunskill about what he means by that, why he feels like they don't have a style, and how the Titans can potentially fix it in 2024. So here is a piece of a very long conversation with Titans offensive lineman Daniel Brunskill. For then the collective effort as a whole, or how do you build for next year's team when you don't have that group?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, it's young guys. I mean, those young guys will generally be here because, you know, they're on longer, or like, you know, on those 4-year deals or 3-year deals and stuff like that. And then we're like P squad guys. You know, I was a P squad guy that, you know, worked my way up, and so like, you know, you have those guys continually develop, and you keep showing them like, hey, this is what we're, you know, like what you play, how we play. And we know, I think part of the thing too is like, I don't know if we've ever established a style this year really. And so I think we got to, you know, we're still working on doing that, like of who we are kind of thing. And so eliminate all the bad crap that we're doing.
Why do you think you guys never established a style? What goes into a team being able to do that sooner in the season?
I think we've just been inconsistent. Like guys miss assignments, where, you know, we're getting behind the chains by false starts. That was a huge thing this year that's really been killing us. You know, like taking care of the football, I think, is another big thing we got to do. You know, so I mean, there's a bunch of things that do that, and I think we've done we got to do a better job of playing like complementary football. Like our defense has done a tremendous job all year. In offense, we got to, you know, when we do get those opportunities to take advantage of, you know, like this last game, we got a field goal. We started with the ball like just past the 50. Like that's got to be a touchdown. You know, like we got to like just kind of keep doing those things, and then help, you know, build the style of like who we are.
So, Austin, a lot there from Daniel Brunskill, one of the most thoughtful guys in the Titans locker room with just about every encounter I've had with him. What are your thoughts on that whole rundown of like, hey, I don't know if we have a style?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you'd ask anybody, what is the Titans style? And really what's going to follow that is jokes and punchlines about, oh, false starts. Oh, you know, bad offense. Oh, getting to 16 points and then not being able to score any more points after that point. Throwing untimely interceptions, having stupid decisions and running the football 80% of the time on first down. I mean, there's a lot of like jokes you can make about it, but I mean, I kind of agree with Daniel Brunskill quite a bit. I do think has a great point that you can't create a style when you're constantly shooting yourself in the foot, or that is your style. You're shooting yourself in the foot.
Well, he had a fantastic line, too, not pictured on camera there, but in some of my further conversations. I spent a lot of time with Daniel Brunskill that day.
Hanging out.
Diving in, well, just really diving into the nuances of what he means and the nuances that go into building a style. And he told me, hey, we always say football is a game of inches. And when you keep giving up 5 yards because of false start after false start after false start, that's a lot of effing inches. And so I thought it was a really good comment, but a really accurate one. And you know, that seemed to be the center point of his point here, was that, hey, we haven't built a style because we shoot ourselves in the foot so often. It hasn't allowed us to really get into that. And so we as a collective group need to be more consistently disciplined to have the opportunity to establish an identity and a style. But I thought it was interesting because I did follow up with Tim Kelly yesterday to try and get some of Tim Kelly's comments. He pushed back on the idea that the Titans don't have a style. So here's the Titans offensive coordinator. Do you agree with that? And how would you explain why that's the case?
Being inconsistent, I would say, and for a number of different reasons. So we got to do a better job of being more consistent. In you know, I guess I would probably bite back a little bit on the not having a style. I think we have a style. We just got to put ourselves in you know, better situations to be able to play within that style more consistently.
How would you describe that style?
A team that when is playing well is a physical team. That is able to not only run the football efficiently, but also able to use play action and do things that we have been able to do at times well, right? So like whether you know, you're looking at different games, different chunks of games, whatever it may be, there are good displays of the style, just not consistent enough for what we need it to be.
Austin, thoughts there. He does bite back, in his own words, a little bit on the idea that the Titans don't have a style.
I'll bite back just a little bit on that. And so I think there's been something that I've noticed with Tim Kelly consistently over him talking to Titans media as the offensive coordinator, where he didn't talk as the pass game coordinator last year. Tim Kelly, it seems, trends and defaults towards the more optimistic viewpoint of the situation. I think Daniel Brunskill's in the locker room. He's seeing all this. He's like, we don't have a style because we're constantly costing ourselves a lot of effing inches and 5 yards and all this and that, and not, missed assignments that lead to bad run plays on first down. Now you're 2nd and 12. Now your style is out the window. Tim Kelly's saying, no, we have a style. We're just not executing it. And it reminded me of back in the offseason, Sam. You probably remember this when I think it was after the signing of Chris Moore with the drafting of Colton Dowell, not until the 7th round, before anything happened with DeAndre Hopkins, when people were questioning Tim Kelly, like, well, what do you have at wide receiver? And Tim Kelly's like, NWI is pretty, NWI has got some good stuff in there. I mean, look at Washington last year. Look at this. Look at the best of these guys and how good that can be. And so he's like trending more optimistic than I think others typically do and that we typically do. That's kind of how I view Tim Kelly.
Yeah, I think they're trying to say the same thing from these different levels of optimism, like you said, right? Daniel Brunskill views it as, well, because we have such a hard time with these pre-snap penalties and shooting ourselves in the foot, we've never been able to establish who we are and what our style is on offense. Tim Kelly looks at it and goes, no, we do have that style. It's just a matter of working it out and executing it. But it's not a matter of like, hey, we don't know who we are. We just know that we're not able to do it. So it is a shift in perspective that I think is rooted from the same common observation of, well, you can't give up 5 yards on pre-snap penalties at untimely moments and then get into 3rd and long scenarios that you're not really built to do a drop back passing game, rooted in some of the same observations, but maybe some opposing views as far as like how optimistic. I think that's a good word that you use there.
Yeah. And so let's ask everybody now, and we can play the videos again. I think they're both interesting. Who do you agree with more about the Titans' offensive style? Do you side more with Daniel Brunskill that they haven't established any style, or do you side with Tim Kelly that they have a style, it's just not being executed? So who do you agree with more here on the show? But first, we'll tell you everybody about Krebs Kubota, the official equipment provider of A to Z Sports and the preferred equipment provider of Middle Tennessee. KrebsKubota.com is their website. They are an elite Kubota dealer. Well, that means they have the best equipment in the industry, the best warranties in the industry as well, with all what they have to offer at KrebsKubota.com, with 3 locations across the entire mid-state, Columbia, Franklin, and in Murfreesboro as well. Whenever you need that piece of equipment, Krebs Kubota is who you should trust, because they will help you out, get that right piece of equipment for the right project at the right price. If you need to buy the equipment, if you just need to rent it, they can help you out with that. And when something breaks, you go back to their experts to help get it right back to where you need it to be at KrebsKubota.com.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up with BetMGM and get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. That's a second chance to win big with the king of sportsbooks. Go to BetMGM.com, and whatever your first wager amount is, up to $1,500. That's going back into your account in the form of a bonus bet if you don't win when you sign up using the bonus code ATOZ Sports. So bet next time with the king of sportsbooks, BetMGM, and BetMGM.com.
I see somebody in the chat earlier that said that had an opinion on my Titans BetMGM trend that we'll talk about later on, where I have a case that BetMGM is watching our show. And we've known that, but now I've got evidence on this. All right, so Sam, let's play the Tim Kelly video again. I'll pull this up here because you talked to Daniel Brunskill, Titans offensive lineman, saying haven't been able to establish a style because of all the pre-snap penalties costing yourselves a lot of effing inches with 5-yard penalties. And then Tim Kelly, you bringing that type of conversation to Tim Kelly at his press conference yesterday.
Do you agree with that? And how would you explain why that's the case?
Being inconsistent, I would say, and for a number of different reasons. So we got to do a better job of being more consistent. I guess I would probably bite back a little bit on the not having a style. I think we have a style. We just got to put ourselves in better situations to be able to play within that style more consistently.
How would you describe that style?
A team that when is playing well is a physical team that is able to not only run the football efficiently but also able to use play action and do things that we have been able to do at times well, right? So like whether you're looking at different games, different chunks of games, whatever it may be, there are good displays of the style, just not consistent enough for what we need it to be.
Yeah, that follow-up question, in case you can't hear, is, how would you describe that style? And I think one of the key points there, Austin, is, well, when we're playing well, ... right? And when we're playing well, we do this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing. And I think this is where we get some of this disconnect, right? In what you said. They're not playing well. And if you're consistently not playing well, consistently inconsistent, does that now become your style and identity on offense? Or is it just like how do we define style? How do we define trying to assert style? And as we said, Brunskill, Tim Kelly, maybe different interpretations of that. And we asked the question, who the chat agrees with more? Daniel Brunskill's saying, hey, we haven't established a style, or Tim Kelly saying, no, we have one, we just don't do it well. And Austin, shocker, the people are with Daniel Brunskill. Andre's with him, Nicole, Ashley, Rashid, Titans Kyle, Deshaun, Danny, Johnny, Scott, Jaron. Brandon does come in with a Tim Kelly. He's back in Tim Kelly. So is David. But James, Luman, Tighten Up, Elo, Will, Jason, Justin, everybody on the Daniel Brunskill train for who they back up. So I ask you, Austin Stanley, are you with the chat, and are you with Daniel Brunskill here, or are you with Tim Kelly?
Look, I think the way we ask the question is, do you agree more with Brunskill or Kelly? Because both are correct. I think they both are making good points. But I actually agree with the Titans play caller here. I think the Titans do have a style. They just suck at it. And they're just not very good. And I saw this super chat coming in from TLG. Also, our guys and the Titans guys are just inferior to the competition. Yes, the Titans have a style. They have a goal of how they want to play offensive football. It's just not working. And look, you can talk about style. What do you think about when you hear the word style? I think of fashion. I think of clothing. I think of people having a style. You can have bad style, but that's still a style, right? Like you can go out there and push the boundaries on what style is and not, or you can just be, dad jeans walking around with your New Balance white sneakers getting ready to mow the lawn. Like you can have style and it be bad, or you can have D-Hop style or Derrick Henry style, whoever you want to go with. But the Titans have an offensive style. It's run the football to set up play action, and it's overly stubborn at a lot of times. And I think I agree with Tim Kelly. Doesn't mean I like what Tim Kelly's saying, but I do think he's more correct here. They have a style. They continuously shoot themselves in the foot. That has to make them break their style and have to adapt because as who was it? So I was about to give you a trivia question, Sam, and maybe I can do this real quick. How fast can you tell me how many inches are in 5 yards?
Oh, I tried doing this in my brain after Brunskill said it to me in the locker room, and I thought I came up with the answer, and then I was like, oh, wait, no, 5 yards is 3 feet is in a yard time, so that's 15 feet times 12.
Hurry.
Am I doing it right now? 100
Yeah, come on.
Okay, 180.
Yes, you're correct, Lucas. False start is 180 inches because I was going to ask you that question before we talked to Tim Kelly on that one. But 180 inches in 5 yards. And we get people in the chat. Lucas was on top of that. I was having playing a game with myself during that too. So 180 inches, they keep costing themselves because Dylan Radins can't stay in his stance, or whoever's playing left tackle doing that too. So 180 inches, they keep costing themselves, and they have a style. They're just not very good at it. So do you agree with Brunskill or Tim Kelly more?
Well, I think you're right. I think they're both correct. And I think they're both making good points that are, I guess, based and rooted in different definitions of style and different definitions of establishing style. And this is the difference between their comments to me. I think Daniel Brunskill's talking about what the words he used were establish a style. Mm-hmm. Tim Kelly went more of have a style. And so I think he interpreted Daniel Brunskill saying establish a style as saying we don't have one. He's like, no, we do. I do think Daniel Brunskill is right that they haven't established, at least for those younger guys that he's referring to in the context of my conversation with him, established how they're supposed to play football. But I also, Austin, think Tim Kelly is more right here. I'm probably a black sheep in Titans community right now because I actually like Tim Kelly a lot as a play caller. And I think Tim Kelly's done a good job with this offense. I think he gives very insightful and thoughtful answers at the podium. I'm a Tim Kelly guy pretty thoroughly, and I know that's not what Titans fans feel right now. But as I wrote in my article on A to Z Sports earlier this week, I believe that the talent on this roster is really the differentiating factor between this offense firing and this offense not firing. And as Tim Kelly says, right, they want to be a team that's physical, that runs the ball with success, that does play action to set up things downfield. I think that he's capable of calling that offense. He just doesn't have personnel right now to block for anything or stay in their stance. And so I agree with Tim Kelly. The Titans have a style. It is running the ball with Derrick Henry, and it'll probably be in the future Tajay Spears running the ball to set up play action, to throw the ball deep down the field, try and pick up some chunk plays, take care of the ball, don't turn the football over. And they're really, really, really bad at it because they allow sacks and can't stay in their stance, like you said. So
and they can't protect or block. When Derrick Henry, I was listening to the Tighten Up podcast this week with Austin Huff and Jack Gentry, and they were talking about how Derrick Henry had 24 yards after contact.
He had 9 rushing yards. Texans. I also listened to that part of the Tighten Up podcast.
Man. Look, I mean, same thing happened in Cleveland too, right? It was something crazy where he was getting hit or getting, having to average over like 2 yards after contact, but getting hit on average 7 feet behind the line of scrimmage.
I feel
180 inches. He's getting feet hit behind the line of scrimmage.
It's so funny to me because I feel like Daniel Brunskill is like the coach of this offensive line, where it's like he knows how it's supposed to look. And yet he's like, every time Dylan Radins can't stay in his stance, they're backing him up 5 yards, or Jalen Duncan blocks the wrong guy and gets Will Levis pummeled. I just picture Daniel Brunskill going and going over to the rookie on the sideline being like, yeah, that's not how that's supposed to go. We got to have more of a style. And so the more I talked with Brunskill after I put the camera down after that conversation, it was just very interesting hearing his thorough breakdown of that Titans approach, and kind of from a player's perspective that you also see, like that fans see, that media sees, of, hey, we got to go out there and get 3 yards on first down. He's like, we go get 3 yards on first down. It's not amazing, but it's solid. It puts us in 2nd and 7 to go get 4 or 5. And then we can be in 3rd and short and keep this thing moving. He's like, but as soon as you get those 3 yards and then you get a 5-yard penalty, now you're in 2nd and 12. And then if you get 4 or 5 yards, you're still in 3rd and long. And so, Austin, I don't believe, and this is my theory on this overall.
Okay.
I don't believe this is a style issue for the Titans. I believe the biggest problem is that they don't deviate from their style when the circumstances don't set up their style. If you're in 2nd and 7, 3rd and 3, right, Sure, keep running the ball and doing your play action and do what's working. But I do think they have to have a change up here. Like, and I'm referring to both literally a change up and the pitch, right?
Yeah.
Running the ball and doing this style of plays, the Titans fastball. But if you get, if this guy's sitting heater and they know that you're coming with the heater and they start, hitting it a couple times, you have to be able to go to something else. And so if Dylan Radins gets a false start on 2nd down and 7, and now you're in a 2nd down and 12, don't get complacent with taking 4 to 5 yards. But I think they're in a tough spot because they have that much fear about what this O-line is going to do to their quarterback if they drop their guy to throw on 2nd and 12, that it really becomes a lose-lose for a play caller. It's either, do I just try and stick to what we know and hope it pops this time, or do I put our quarterback at risk because I'm trying to drop back and take shots on 2nd and 12, all because one dude can't keep his ass steady on a 2nd and 7 run play?
Yeah, no, look, I think you said a lot of great things. There's been a lot of really good comments in the chat. By the way, there's about 140 people in the chat right now that have not liked the show. So I think that's also, we've been doing math here on the show. So we need more likes on the show. But you brought some things up that I wanted to react to, and I favorited a couple really strong comments from you guys. Have some super chats in here as well. So we'll continue this conversation. What I thought Sam had to say there, and some things I agree with coming from you guys. But first, Farm Bureau Health Plans. I agree with you switching up your health coverage and going to Farm Bureau Health Plans. They've been serving Tennesseans for over 75 years. That is generations for generations for generations. And so much has changed in 75 years, as we all know, in this state and across the country and in our world. But what hasn't changed is Farm Bureau Health Plan's ability to protect you and your family with your health coverage, whatever situation that you need. And whatever you've got going on. Farm Bureau Health Plans can help you out and help save you money on your health coverage, but get and still have really good coverage. Zach Bingham, he saved 20% a month on his health coverage. He got better health coverage on top of it. So you don't have to go pay out of pocket all the time for going to the dentist or your contacts or your vision plan or whatever you've got going on with your health. If you have a growing family, Farm Bureau Health Plans is also who you can turn to for that, for whatever you might need. Maybe the family's out of the house. Maybe you and your spouse, empty nesters, you need that next level coverage for that next stage in life. That's really where Farm Bureau Health Plan specializes too. And get started at fbhp.com/ATOZ.
Today's show powered by BetMGM. Listen, maybe you're getting ready to watch the Titans game this weekend and you are just dragging at the idea of Christmas Eve, watching Ryan Tannehill potentially play quarterback. Well, add some juice to the game on BetMGM. Add some juice to it. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up with BetMGM. And whenever that first wager that you place, whether it's a Titans game or a bowl game or whatever the heck you want to bet on, it's risk-free because it goes back into your form of a bonus bet. If your bet loses, that is up to $1,500 back into your account in the form of a bonus bet, a second chance to win big. That's why if you're doing some sports betting this holiday season, you got to do it with the king of sportsbooks. It's BetMGM and BetMGM.com.
Yeah, shout out to Sam W on YouTube, just like the show. Several others that you guys did as well. Still need more likes on the show. All right, so, and Devin says, juice it up, boys. Yeah, juice up the likes here on the show right before we get here. Before Christmas. The more likes, the more Titans fans jump in here and have good conversations. All right, so a couple things that have been brought up in this conversation. Do you agree more with Tim Kelly? The Titans have a style. They just can't execute it consistent enough. Or Daniel Brunskill saying the Titans haven't established a style because of lack of execution and self-inflicted wounds. Anthill says, you're missing the point. You're missing the point. There's no style when you can't adapt. Halftime, there's no change in halftime, and that's why we get mowed over in the second half. There's some typos and missed commas in there, but I did like this comment from Anthill here. Yeah, there is no adaptation, and I watched and was listening while I was cutting up that clip this morning, Sam, to Tim Kelly also saying about the running on first down. And Tim Kelly, I like this because I knew I had numbers right, because Tim Kelly said we're 15-9 run to pass on first down play calling, right? 15 total.
Yeah, he points out 2 of the runs are gadget runs too. So
Yep, and they were the direct snap to the King Cat, and then the reverse to Burks. Well, all 15 of those combined for -2 yards, and they called 9 total pass plays and gained 34 yards in that. A couple sacks in there on first down, and also a Will Levis scramble for 9 yards, with Traylon Burks being the main guy doing anything on offense. And the fact that 9 of those pass plays, 3 of the completions went to Derrick Henry in that. And I even went deeper into this. There's 24 first downs, right? But they also were in overtime. And I looked at this when they either had a lead or early in the game when they were building that 13-0 lead at one point. They ran the ball, what did I say? 14 out of 19 of their first downs. So only 5 of those pass play calls came within their first 19 first down snaps. And that's where I thought the stubbornness of not having that change up, like you talked about, it was killing this team because it's that chicken or the egg. It's the catch-22, the double-edged sword, any other thing you want to call it. I think double-edged sword works with the Titans because of the, Titans two-tone blue sword nature. But it's the fact that this team, and you said this too, they want to get 3 yards on first down, right? They are so anal about getting, just need 3 yards, just need 3, that they're okay with such low standards on first downs because their margin of error is so thin that they can't avoid anything other than 3 yards on third down. So they're also handcuffing themselves in trying to be aggressive and take a little bit of extra risk because that extra risk might be 1st and 15 because you have a dumb penalty, or you might miss an assignment and you get sacked on first down and now you're screwed. But it's like, you got to do something different because just like having the low bar of, just need 3 yards on first down, then we'll be okay. You're just setting yourself up to fail because you're missing out on so many opportunities that could be had because the defense knows what you want to do when you're running the ball 75% of the time on first down when that game was, when you had control over it. They're allowing their flaws to dictate them. That's a problem, right? Now, you can be aware of your flaws, but they're obsessed with them. They're obsessed with their flaws. And it's keeping them at 16 points a game,
I think that last line is really, really good and really important. Allowing your flaws to dictate you. I do tend to side on the side of things where I'm not sure there's as much room to adapt as Titans fans might want to believe. I think it's a lot easier said than done, right? Watching from home and you're the Monday morning offensive coordinator in this case, where you're like, well, hey, the runs weren't working. Why didn't you pass? I think there's just a ton of concern about the pass protection, but I think there is something to that, Austin, of that pass protection is a weakness. That run blocking is at times a weakness. And yet because of you always side on the side of being risk adverse. And when you do that, you allow your biggest pitfalls, your biggest flaws, your biggest shortcomings as an offense, and quite honestly, your worst players to define who you are. The National Football League is a league of, hey, build around your stars, play around your best players, allow your best players to make plays. And when you operate the way the Titans do, it's almost that old adage, right? You're only as good as your weakest link. The Titans are only as good as their worst player. They should be as good as their best players, but it's sort of backwards because you avoid risk and you're trying to play into your weaknesses instead of playing into your strengths.
Yeah, and so they are setting up Derrick Henry to fail. Now, you just said the Titans should be as good as their best players and how they can take. I don't think Derrick Henry is one of their best players anymore.
I don't think so either, but you should be as good as Will Levis and DeAndre Hopkins, and you should be as good as letting your rookie quarterback that has this big arm and creates explosive pass plays, letting him do those things sometimes.
Agreed.
And they've taken fair amount of shots down the field, but the only times I've been really critical of Tim Kelly and Mike Vrabel has been early in Will Levis's tenure as the starting quarterback, late in games where they seemed to handcuff him from going and taking a shot. But you see, right? Like, I can't stop using this comparison. Look at the Buffalo Bills. Look at how often the Buffalo Bills turn the football over. You can look at it and say, that's a problem. Can't commit 3-4 turnovers. You can't fumble the ball and throw a couple picks and be that aggressive. And yet they're so talented through Stephon Diggs and through James Cook and through Josh Allen that they're also
and
able
there's
to
others
say,
on there too, like Gabe Davis and the tight ends, Kincaid and Knox, even though Knox has been banged up most of the time.
they're able,
right.
but they're so talented that they're able to take that high level of skill and say, hey, screw it. Let's go. We're going to throw 3 interceptions and turn the ball over 3 times, but we're also going to have like 3 40-yard touchdowns that get offense like that. So, I mean, it is the ultimate catch-22. I'm not sure there's an answer to this that doesn't start with changing the personnel, changing the roster.
So because you also said that you got a lot of blowback, a lot of heat from the chat this morning when you said that you're a Tim Kelly guy. Sam, we riding together, man. Like,
yeah.
and I saw Trey also said that you're not alone. I like Tim Kelly. I think Tim Kelly is being handcuffed by obviously the terrible offensive line. We all know that the offensive line is awful and there's no running from it or behind it. And then I also think Mike Vrabel. I'll say this. I hate to do this, but it works. Okay. My senior year of high school, our quarterback, both of them got hurt. Then we kept turning the football over a lot by trying to run our 3 wide, throw it and do all that kind of stuff that we had done the previous couple of years. Our head coach, a defensive head coach, said, "You're killing me." Our defense was only allowing 9 points a game. We were losing. And so he said, "Screw it. We're going to run the wing tee, but from the shotgun." And so we did that and we won 5 out of 6 and we made the playoffs. So Mike Vrabel is almost to a point where he's saying, I can't deal with this offensive line killing us. Screw it. We're just going to run until we beat our heads against the wall and let's see if our defense can do enough to win and make some plays down the field. I don't think Vrabel's doing it very well. But I think they're a little bit not trusting some of their young, talented players to overcome what they can do. And I think it's an over-adjustment to an extent.
And Vrabel's also all about putting players in a position to succeed, right? And I don't think he's comfortable putting somebody like Will Levis, a young player who he knows is an important key to this franchise moving forward, in a position that he's not set up to succeed, that he's set up to take hits, get hurt, turn the ball over, fail, because the offensive line and the wide receivers even are underrated. Part of this conversation is the fact that nobody can get open. But I don't know. The offensive line has masked that problem for a lot of 2023. Yeah. But Mike Vrabel, knowing his commitment to, hey, how can I put my players in a position to succeed and grow? I don't think he views it as productive for Will Levis to be in that spot, and that's his stance on the matter. And
right,
hey, you can disagree with it, but that's what it is.
For sure. Some more comments that I wanted to get to. Don said earlier in the show that I like this. When you have no push up front and bad discipline and cost the team's momentum and points, it's hard to see the style because of the penalties killing drives and extending them on the defensive side. Do the same problem with discipline. I think Don nailed that. And I think that is exactly Daniel Brunskill's opinion in a Facebook comment from Don.
Yep.
I think that was really solid, that there is a style, there is a goal, but the mistakes are too big to overcome to an extent. And then I saw this from Nick Ewing, Sam, and I think he asked us, A to Z, what was the Titans' style in training camp? And I thought that was interesting to go back and think. In August, you and I were having conversations about D-Hop and Burks combining for 2,000 yards being the expectation. And then we were having a conversation about Who is wide receiver one? Is it D-Hop or is it this up-and-coming explosive Traylon Burks? Chig was going to be an asset. Tajay Spears was flashing, and you're seeing Derrick Henry and Spears. You're seeing the idea of all this. And look, we knew Andre Dillard was bad because Arden Key was getting 6 sacks a practice, but we didn't think it was this bad.
Yeah,
I know my answer to Nick's question. I'm curious. What would your answer be to Nick's question?
I think you just answered it. Their style was a play action heavy, take your deep shots, a lot of timing routes. Let's air it out. Let's use our weapons in DeAndre Hopkins and Traylon Burks. Less Derrick Henry, more Tajay Spears. It was all of the things that Titans fans have been begging for. And I think that was the plan. And then you have a couple injuries on the offensive line. You get into the games and you realize, oh crap, Andre Dillard sucks eggs. Andre Dillard is horrific. And when you realize that, now you're patchworking. Now you're like, who can we put at left tackle? You're mixing pieces around. NPF comes back, gets hurt. Chris Hubbard is in there, gets hurt. It didn't gel. And the offensive line killed any and all
Peter Skoronski has an appendectomy.
Yeah,
like,
right.
I think that's a thing.
Misses 3 weeks. And they went 8 weeks in a row without playing the same starting 5 on the offensive line. And most of the guys that they played were bad.
Mm-hmm.
It became very quickly not possible. And, oh, by the way, your most explosive wide receiver in your explosive thing had a knee problem, another knee problem, and a severe concussion, and was hardly ever on the field after the Minnesota joint practices. Up until that point, I think we knew that that's kind of what we were going to get, was this, hey, let's throw it 30 to 35 times a game. Let's use a little bit less Derrick. Let's try and make our playmakers make plays and get them the ball in space. And it became no longer possible due to some untimely injuries, some unfortunate circumstances, and then just a straight up bum at left tackle.
Yeah. And so there's some other comments here too. Andre says, how did you know Dillard was horrible in camp and do nothing about it? It did.
I think they saw how terrible he was. And they were like, no, hey, he's going to get better. Hey,
it did a little bit. Didn't it?
Be okay. It's going to be okay. Maybe. I don't know. The pads weren't on. But and then when the pads came on, it got like slightly better, only because you can be a little bit
stopped asking. Like there was like 2 straight weeks where we asked Arden after practice every day, how many sacks? It was just
11, 7,
7. It was
8.
4, and then all of a sudden it was just 1 today, and then it stopped becoming a thing, and Andre Dillard got better, but Arden Key is better.
And then Myles Garrett happened, and
and the Saints happened. You saw Tannehill was not himself or comfortable, where Tannehill looked comfortable in training camp, like significant, very comfortable. And then, it's just a complete mess. So look, we do have a lot of super chats to get to. I did like this from Jay, because I was thinking about this the other day. Man, the difference in the last 3 seasons for the Titans, 12-5, 1 seed, and ever since, you're looking at a combined 12 wins over the 2-year period. We've talked about 180.
12-5 to 12-22.
Oof. And that's approaching Ken Wisenhunt type levels right there. So I do want to get to some super chats, because this has been a great conversation. But first, do want to tell you guys all about our great friends at Adventure Science Center, adventuresci.org. It is the holiday season. I know school is out. If you've got the kids running around home and it's like day 3 of school being out, you're like, oh my gosh, you're driving me crazy. Adventure Science Center is where you should send them and let them run out some of that injury and energy and learn in the process. Adventure Science Center is where you should turn to, near downtown Nashville. They've got a ton of incredible exhibits that your kids can enjoy, have a ton of fun, and walk away with a lot of knowledge in different areas and broaden their horizon. And hey, it's not just for the kids, because starting the new year, they've got what they're calling Third Thursday. So the third Thursday night of every month, 18 and up, adults only, which means adults getting to do a little bit more different things than what the kids do there at Adventure Science Center. So the third Thursday of every month, starting in January, that's January 18th is the first one. So go check that out. Gift cards, if you want to gift your kids and your family a membership to Adventure Science Center this holidays, and maybe look, it's December 22nd. There's still time to add an Adventure Science Center membership to that stocking. AdventureSCI.org.
Today's show powered by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when signing up with BetMGM and get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets. If your first bet doesn't win, whatever that wager amount is, up to $1,500 goes back into your account for a second chance to win big. That's why BetMGM is the king of sportsbooks. So do your sports betting this holiday season with BetMGM and BetMGM.com.
All right, so some super chats to get to. Brandon says, Tim very much has a style. The Texans game proved that. If I tell you to go jump over a brick wall and you keep running into the wall, then how am I wrong? Well, I don't know about the analogy fully checking out there, but
I'm confused. Who's running in? Like, who's telling who to jump over the brick wall in the analogy?
That's what I was thinking. I'm confused slightly of how high and how fast. But look, it was bad. The Texans game from a play calling standpoint was as bad as it's been. It was stubborn and it was failing. And they lost the game. They had every business winning, but they screwed it up internally there. So that's from Brandon. Andre says, familiarity and carryover equals frustrating and inconsistent offense that doesn't adjust in-game or play to player strengths. Never liked the Kelly hire. But again, Andre, I say when the Titans offense has been bad under Mike Vrabel, it's been bad for the same reasons. And it's been different play callers who have been pulling the strings. So I don't view it as a Tim Kelly problem. I view it as obviously a roster problem, but I view it as a Mike Vrabel philosophy. I just talked about Adventure Science Center, the formula on how to win. I think Mike Vrabel needs to adjust his formula going into 2024. And I honestly think Tim Kelly is somebody that can be a part of that plan, because I think Tim Kelly wants to throw the football more.
Yeah, I think it's about building your roster to fit. Like you need to adjust your philosophy and then acquire the personnel to play, and that suits that new philosophy.
For sure.
And I just think the Titans, there's a disconnect right now, and I'm not even sure it's their fault, between the roster and where the Titans want to play, but they just haven't built the roster up to where they want it to be yet. And it's a good thing they've got $90 million.
Yeah. And then Kick It to the King says a couple of things here. Since 2018, Vrabel has seen toss plays 100% fail. That's kind of how I agree there. And then also says Blaine Bishop was spot on. Vrabel had no choice to let loose Levis versus Miami. Versus Houston, Vrabel chose to have the offense that we saw on Sunday. Yeah, it was 13-13 in Miami. 2 awful turnovers. But they were down,
I don't love
right?
the idea of like, oh, well, look, the drop back passing game worked in Miami. Like, it was 4-minute offense and a defense that was on their heels. It's not applicable to defenses that are getting downhill in the first quarter of a game. It's a much different situation. So,
but Sam, what they do? Look at the first. I'll pull it up. Look at the first drive against the Houston Texans on Sunday. That first drive is what their style should be, but they abandoned it really fast. And I'm trying to pull it up. Computer ESPN.com is crawling at times. It typically does, but I'm trying to get to this play-by-play sheet here. But I remember Will Levis was very efficient and explosive on that first drive. It was 11 plays for 83 yards and a touchdown. First and 10, it was a 3-yard pass to Henry. Immediately there in 3rd and 5, he scrambled for 4 yards. They picked up that first 4 yards, or the first down on that 4th and 1 conversion. Second first down, Derrick Henry, 2 yards. Then play action hit Burks for 37. Then first down, Derrick Henry for the 3rd straight first down touch, minus 3 yards. 2nd and 13, pass to Chig for 3. Then it was 3rd and 10. They hit NWI, makes that incredible catch down the sideline. And now it's Derrick Henry, no gain, Levis, run, touchdown. So, look, there was explosive pass plays down the field that bailed them out of long situations, but they were still, it was Derrick Henry all 4 first down snaps were to Derrick Henry, and I think they gained a total of 0 yards on. I can go back and look, but Derrick Henry, no gain. Derrick Henry, loss of 3, so we're at -3. Derrick Henry for 2, -1. Derrick Henry for 3. So they had 2 yards.
Well, but how long was that pass play to Traylon Burks on first down?
37.
37. That was a first down pass?
That was second and second and long.
They had that 20-yard pass to Burks that was a first down.
That was the next drive.
Yeah, but the problem is that when you look at this, right, and you look at the 34 yards on 9 pass calls and 20 of them come on 1, now the other 8 pass calls were averaging less than 2 yards per play. So, I mean,
3 of them went to Derrick Henry on, and that's just
you can do the early runs to Derrick Henry. It only works if the pass plays work, but that was kind of why I felt like I didn't have a huge problem with the play calling, was like you were getting blown up on pass plays too. So it but it was the pass plays they called, or guys not getting open. Yeah.
But a couple of those Derrick Henry catches were designed catches to Derrick. And
Sure.
then you were losing yards on first down by running the toss and everything else. So they ran a toss, lost 7.
Well, you should block the guy.
Don't run the toss. You can't block it.
You can't just nix anything in the playbook that doesn't work one time.
Derrick Henry toss plays don't work. We've established that. That's been established for years.
I generally agree with you. It's not the smartest thing, but sometimes
it's so bad. I've gone over that for forever. All right. So Andre says almost no quick passes or rollouts or motion or moving Burks around the formation. Practically no adjustments to anything. If the scheme fails, the Titans are screwed.
They can't protect for rollouts. They don't have somebody who can get open for a quick pass. They do move Burks around the formation a lot.
Yeah, I do agree.
So those are my 3 things on that. So
Kane says, I would like the show more if y'all stop skipping super chats, $60 in unread chats. Just saying.
I didn't realize when did we skip chats?
No, we always get to super chats.
I think this is a you and Zach thing that comes back on and gets put on me. That's what I think.
No, I try to do my best to read every super chat. The problem is we plan a show. We have how we want the show to go. Super chats are unexpected. And so it's easiest for us to hey, we can give a segment to super chats. It's also, we're not only on YouTube, we're on Facebook too, and Facebookers can't do super chats. So we try to just allow super chats to breathe on their own.
I feel like sometimes I feel like you and Zach have shows that you don't read super chats. Then I come on here and the chat's like, you got to read the super chat. And I'm like, whoa.
I read the super chats.
Right. Well, hey, Kane wouldn't lie.
Jeff
like
says,
that.
I think they mean you read the super chats on a topic after the topic is done. But super chats can be anything. And a lot of times they don't fit into the topic. A lot of times I save them to say, hey, I want to talk more about this. And so I make that emphasis.
Sometimes they're late too. Sometimes they just come in late. We're
sometimes
off.
We've already,
yeah,
we've moved on or something like that. Right. But no, we're trying to read super chats. Did you favorite a comment you wanted to get to, Sam?
Oh yeah. Well, I just wanted to see if you could do this, Nick, because I talk to him every week, but can you name the offensive line coach?
Jason Hotelling.
Yes, that is who that is. I figured you could, but yeah.
Yeah, I know what's going
memorable
on.
One. Yeah, Nick, we've got the assistant coaches down. I've had to come up with questions to ask some of them every week. So yeah, we do get access to the assistant coaches.
Absolutely. All right. So Sam, you've got some opinions on Caleb Farley and how you think Caleb Farley can create value for the Titans moving forward. Let's hear from the Titans cornerback who's been out at practice for the first time this week since November of 2022. Here's Caleb Farley yesterday.
Just with everything that's been going on.
Being out there, like I said, is an extreme blessing. I'm thankful and grateful for it, but it is a frustrating process just being out there. I feel like a clipped wing, a bird can't fly with a clipped wing, so it can be frustrating while you're trying to, get back to 100% and just dealing with what I'm dealing with. So that's why I said it's good for me to be out there, like I said, to try to adapt and my body just kind of make this next jump, this next step, building some momentum into the end of this season and OTAs, whatever.
How clipped is the wing?
It's it's a hard question. I'm not even going to get into that, but like I said, I've been leaning on a verse. It says, "I will not die. I will live and proclaim what the Lord has done." So that's just what I'm leaning on, and that's all I can do.
Do you think you got a shot to play maybe in the finale, or would the team think it might work even if it didn't?
I'm just showing up every day to try to get better and push my limits and see what I got. What juice I got on my left foot, my leg, and that's all I'm doing. It taking it day by day. I'm definitely not trying to rush nothing. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
So to answer a question in the chat, that is Caleb Farley's first interview in a very long time. I couldn't remember if we spoke to him or not. I do believe he did like a quick thing that was not football related after his father passed, and it was a quick couple questions about, hey, I'm thankful for my teammates and the organization on helping me get through this or whatever. It was very brief, but we haven't talked football with Caleb Farley in over a year since he had his herniated disc against Denver last season. So Austin, a couple things to note. Number one, Caleb Farley's not going to play this season. I've gotten that vibe over and over again, whether it be Shane Bowen or talking to Chris Harris, the DB coach, after practice, or hearing from Caleb Farley himself. I really don't expect him to play. There were 18 days left in the season when the Titans opened his 21-day window. So he can just practice for the rest of the year without having to come back to the active 53-man roster. Keep in mind, people are going to have to be away from the facility for a bit over some of this offseason. People are going to be here a lot less. And so I think this is an opportunity for Titans coaches to bring him in, get some work with him in person, get him on a football field, work him back before he heads into an offseason to get even healthier and stronger. Another note from me to you, Titans fans. No, the Titans are not going to cut Caleb Farley. It's dumb. They save no money. Quit commenting it. Quit asking. Not going to happen. I see every time there's a Caleb Farley thing out there. Man, why won't they just cut this dude? He's worthless, is the comment every single time. Because his rookie contract as a first-round pick is fully guaranteed. His base salary next year is fully guaranteed. The Titans do not save a single cent if they don't have him on their roster, and they have a need at cornerback. Whether you want to admit that or not, they have a need at cornerback, and Sean Murphy-Bunting and Christian Fulton are both unrestricted free agents. So Caleb Farley is going to at least be with this team in training camp and have an opportunity to earn his spot in the cornerback room. Probably not a starter, right? But can he carve out a role and be valuable in some capacity for this team? I don't think it's impossible, if he can get healthy, that he has an impact on the 2024 team. But the idea that he's just kind of a pointless player who's going to get cut here in the next few weeks is not realistic. So that's my PSA.
Yeah, and can he create value? Like, what value do you think he can create here, though?
Length,
other than just being an option,
athleticism, and I would say look at what the Titans did with Elijah Molden, and don't be surprised if Caleb Farley's at safety. I think that's something that is it going to be another need that they're going to have to fill, right? They've got Amani Hooker and Elijah Molden at safety and not really anything else next year. So can he be a versatile defensive back with some size and length that can drop back? I mean, his biggest problem has been press coverage, getting beaten press coverage. But we know that he's got pretty good ball skills. We know that he can run. We know that, there's a lot of ways that he's capable. I've heard before, and my friend Blaine Bishop has, held this point before, that he needs to move to safety. Well, the Titans were able to do that with Elijah Molden, starting from the summer, working throughout training camp and developing him back there. So maybe we see Caleb Farley do something like that. But I think at the worst, right, he's a fourth corner, a third corner, and better than the one that you currently have. There's still a lot of physical ability there. And because he's on a rookie contract and because the deal is guaranteed, I don't think he's going anywhere.
And it's the last year 2024 is the last year of that rookie contract. They're not going to pick up his 5th-year option, obviously. But to say that. And so I think why I think safety could make sense is there's less backpedaling at safety than corner.
Like his only problem, genuinely his only problem is going backwards.
Well, that's harder. Like the stance and the body contortion that you have to be in to backpedal is hard on your lower back. And so if you don't have to if you don't have to backpedal as much, that can help save his back. Now you got to play a lot more downhill. I don't know if I trust Caleb Farley to have the confidence to play downhill as a safety, but I do think that could maybe save his back. I think special teams is really the only value he provides. Go cover punts, cover kickoffs, and see what he can do there. But who knows on that. So we'll see what happens with Caleb Farley. But yeah, I mean, he's not going to go anywhere. He doesn't. You can cut him and not have him make the team after training camp, but having him as one of 90 bodies that you can bring in the training camp is going to happen because he's going to be owed $2.5 million base salary next year, here or not.
Yeah, he could get cut in training camp. That's not unrealistic to expect. And the Titans would then just be paying him to not be on the football team. But he's not going to be given a roster spot just because he's under contract. He will at least be given an opportunity to earn that roster spot, though. If he gets cut, it's not because he's hurt. It's not because his salary. It's going to be because they don't see value in him on their team, and they have enough guys at the position where they don't view him as valuable. I have a hard time seeing a world where they have enough safeties and corners on the team next year that are significantly better than Caleb Farley to the point where that happens. But a lot can change between now and then. So we'll see what the Titans do in the offseason.
All right, Sam, I've got proof that I think BetMGM is watching the show and has adjusted something because of what I said. But first, tell everybody about the Bone and Joint Institute.
The Bone and Joint Institute, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Don't fumble on your recovery. Go to the Bone and Joint Institute with a state-of-the-art rehab facility located out in Franklin. Everything is under one roof, from clinic to rehab, surgery, imaging, testing. It's all there at Bone and Joint Institute, so you're not driving all over Middle Tennessee to go to your different appointments. Go get good and reliable care from the best doctors in the game and the best doctors in Middle Tennessee. So don't fumble. Go to Bone and Joint Institute. Schedule an appointment at boneandjointtn.org.
And shout out to BetMGM. You can always win big with our bonus code ATOZ Sports. That's up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses with bonus code ATOZ Sports. It's also the continuation of 7 days of parlay. So wake up every morning with your BetMGM app with a new parlay bonus there and a parlay boost, a parlay feature there in your account for 7 days of parlays. Make sure you use that on that day because it goes away after 1 day, but you get 7 straight days of parlays leading up through Christmas Eve with BetMGM. 7 days of parlays. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older, Tennessee only. New customer offer and existing customer offer. All promotions, subject to qualification, or requirements. First online room money wager. Only rewards issue knowledgeable bonus bets. Bonus bets inspire 7 days for problem game sport. Call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. So Sam, if you remember, last week I was all over Chris Moore's over receiving and rushing yards combined. The previous game, when the Titans beat Miami, I was on it at 12.5. It crushed. He had 1 catch for 22 yards. And I liked Chris Moore's over receiving rushing yard total, but it wasn't on the board last week. BetMGM didn't make it available. And I checked Friday, Saturday, Sunday, leading up to the game, right before our pregame show. I looked during the pregame show at Acme, and they didn't make it available. Because I said last Friday, Sam, that I would be good with Chris Moore's combined rushing receiving yard total up to 17.5. Well, guess what's on the board today at BetMGM? Chris Moore rushing and receiving yards total 17.5. And he's done this.
They set the line to put you in a little bit of a situation. They were like, oh, right up to 17.5. Okay, we'll see if you bet it or not.
So Do I take it still? Because his receiving yards is at 16.5. I said I would do rushing, receiving up to 17. I liked it that high. And he's done it. He's played in 12 games. Chris Moore has. He missed a couple. He's played in 12. He's hit over 17.5 rushing and receiving total in 9 of those 12 games, including this past Sunday against the Texans. I think I'm still going to do it, Sam.
Well, no Nick
NWI's out.
No Nick
NWI's out.
I think he's on IR. No Nick Westbrook-Ikine. I like that for you.
Matt says, Austin, no Levis, no bet. I wouldn't do it. Oh, but Matt, you forget. What did Chris Moore do with Ryan Tannehill early in the year? Bombs, right? He was still making big plays. And he's played games with both. And he's gone over the number with both guys. The 3 games that he has not done this, New Orleans Saints, no catches, no yards. He was targeted deep a couple times. He did not do this in London. And he didn't play against the Falcons. So, and he was at 12 against the Colts. So I think I should still do this, right?
It sounds like you should, because you're talking yourself into it. I mean, maybe you don't want to do that because I have a better play for you. I have a better idea.
Right, let me hear it.
You mentioned what Chris Moore has done with Ryan Tannehill. Nick Westbrook-Ikine is not going to play this week.
Mm-hmm.
So may I direct everybody's attention to Mr. Treylon Burks once again. If Treylon Burks plays in this game, take his over at 31.5 on BetMGM. Ryan Tannehill and Treylon Burks, that's a connection that's well established. That's the connection we saw during training camp when Burks was popping off before he got injured. Those two know each other. Hey, when Will Levis didn't throw the deep ball to Treylon Burks for a touchdown, and he instead threw an interception targeting DeAndre Hopkins last week, who went over to talk to Treylon Burks on the sideline? Ryan Tannehill. These two have chemistry. I told you last week, if you're not following me on Twitter, you should be following me on Twitter, but I fired off a tweet from the press box before the game. I said, just watch the warm-ups, Treylon Burks over 23.5. It hit less than 2 minutes into the game, and everybody that backed was like, Sam, thank you. You're so good. You just gave us the best play of the day. I said, guys, it's no problem. This is my job. This is what I do. Well, I'm telling you now, Treylon Burks over 31.5. Book it, or you'll regret it.
Okay. Treylon Burks also might run the football again. His rushing receiving combined total is 34.5.
Maybe. Nah, I'm taking the over on the receiving yards. 31.5. Hit him for, we'll go 5 for 45 is Treylon Burks' stat line.
That would be significantly under his yards per catch average for his career.
Correct.
But over your number. All right. I think we've got 2 good bets here. 2 really good bets here on BetMGM. Chris Frazier says book Chris Moore. So Chris Moore rushing and receiving over 17.5. Treylon Burks over receiving yards 31.5. I think regardless of the quarterback, those 2 plays have big time potential there. So I might just play both of them here. But Sam, let's wrap up the week. Head to the Christmas weekend with a little bit of good news to spread for everybody to share. Shout out to Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. WilsonCountyHyundai.com in Lebanon. So go check out and say hey to our friend Payne Bone and his team in Lebanon. WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Good news to share. Sam, I'll send you to the chat to see if you see some good news and also be able to share your good news this week. You got time?
I'm out. I'm not even going to put it on the Jeff is coming in talking about, I will put it on the screen. Sam also said the UGA player shouldn't be in trouble for being a bad driver. I think he's referring to the Jalen Carter incident back in the draft. Go watch the show. I was dogging Jalen Carter. I was like saying that we're not taking this seriously enough I don't know where this is coming from, Jeff. Go watch the show.
That was in January. What are you doing, Jeff?
Yeah, I don't know what he's saying there, but like also go watch the show. I like very clearly was like, hey, Jalen Carter, problematic. I don't know what we're talking about. So
strange. Well, Jeff says, good news. Michigan got hit even with more violations, level 1 and level 2. Yeah, Jim Harbaugh's having a bad Christmas. Cole for Jim Harbaugh. Stephen King says, good news. Already celebrated Christmas with the fam and now just work and football. Sean says, good news, finishing up his staycation and won't go back to work until Tuesday. It's been nice. Congratulations on that. Grim Jim says, good news, the season is almost over. Jackson says, good news, going to the Christmas home game. So Jackson will be at Christmas Eve home game. So Jackson heads to see Titans and Seahawks. Sam, what is your good news?
Yeah, I mean, Christmas is the easy one, right? I think my good news though is going to be I got approved for a new apartment, so I got that lease coming, got it figured out. I'm very excited to move, get in a little bit of a better situation, get a quicker drive to the facility, and improve a lot of my daily inconveniences by moving. So pumped up about that. That's a little good news, and then. Yeah, excited for the game, surprisingly enough. I don't know. I'm excited. I've been planning an outfit for this Christmas game for quite some time, so I'm excited for that. I'm excited to pop home for all of 36 hours and go and see the family real quick on Christmas. It's a good time of year. I don't actually take a lot of time to enjoy the holiday season very often. So I'm trying to be a little bit better about that. I've watched a Christmas movie this year, which is new for me. I've tried to I don't know. I know you're probably a big Chris. I was having this conversation with Buck on Primetime the other night where I couldn't figure out if Buck was going to be like Mr. Scrooge or like an over-the-top Christmas fan. I'm like, there's no in between. He's either sneaky or like Mr. Scrooge. He's Mr. Scrooge. Yeah, which is expected. You are absolutely gonna wear like Christmas pajamas and probably match with your wife in Christmas pajamas. You love Christmas. I can already get that vibe.
Not as much as you're saying, and no matching.
I don't know. I don't know.
Actually haven't watched Christmas movies yet. Been kind of busy, with the move and everything, and all of a sudden you blink and it's Christmas, and haven't watched Christmas movies. I did want to get back to some good news because Devin has great news. Final board interview with the head fire chief, which means I basically have the job. He's as a firefighter, so that would be fantastic for Devin. And then Devin also throws in the comment about the X. And then Aaron says, good news is that I'm very, very excited to see his golf family tomorrow morning at his dad's house and then get to see his cousin he hasn't seen in a long time on Christmas Day. That is great good news there from Aaron and a lot of congratulations there coming in there from Devin. So my good news is that I made a new friend this week. I was getting some work done on Wednesday. Look out the front and I see a little 3-legged dog running around the street in the cul-de-sac. And I'm like, I haven't seen that dog. Huh. And so I go out and I see this jolly, energetic, lovable, tongue hanging out, doing zoomies everywhere, pup with three legs. And I'm like, we need to find where you go. And so, and there was a collar with no tags. And so I've been here in this new neighborhood for 3 weeks. And I'm like, I don't really know many people. And this is like 11 o'clock on a work day. And so I grab our extra leash and go out and make friends with this pup. And then we walk around for about the next full hour, going some different streets and different doors. And I learned that the neighborhood is all about helping everybody else because I talked to so many neighbors. I talked to one of the bus drivers that comes through on her route. I talked to, people that were working on houses and they were all trying to help me find this pup. I was talking to my wife on the phone. She was helping me out as mission control while she was at work. And we all came to find where this dog's home was. And it was a great story and a great way for Addie to go back home to mom and her sisters, right? Little kid sisters at the house. And so, and it worked, and it happened because I talked to some guy down the street, met him for the first time. And then he calls me and says, "Hey man, I went over and I drove to the house to confirm." And it's like some random guy stopped his workday to go do this to help me out. And I just met. And so I was like, this was a good neighborhood experience. And so that's my good news. I made a new friend, Addie, and I got, walked about 2 miles in total. So got some extra steps in and had some fun doing that, but glad that it all worked out. That's my good news.
Hey, nothing unites people like a three-legged dog. I mean, that everybody can come together and support that cause. So that everybody would stop their workday for that. I feel like you're like, oh, three-legged dog needs to find its home. How can I help? Right? That's
but I couldn't do it without the help I had because my wife was helping post on the different groups and the chats and the apps and all that, and basically helped me do everything while I was just felt helpless walking around the neighborhood like I don't know what to do, where to go. So big time shout out to everybody helping out. But yeah, it was made a new friend and glad it all worked out. And Addie apparently is an escape specialist. So I'm sure Addie and I will get to play again. Hopefully not.
Yeah, hopefully an organized meetup or something like that. Like see Addie at the dog park and not necessarily walking on a leash.
See Addie run around, we know exactly where to go.
Yeah,
so,
there you go.
Appreciate all that and everybody that helped out. It was a good way to jump into the Christmas spirit. But that'll do it for us here this week. Sam, you'll be back at St. Thomas Sports Park at Titans at 2, maybe later this afternoon. Buck also have with 615 sessions to see who the quarterback will or won't be when it comes to Titans against the Seahawks on Sunday, Christmas Eve. Also, Jack and I will be at Acme. We will be on the second floor this week because it's Christmas Eve. The second floor at Acme Feed and Seed. Shout out Spirited Hive and Ranch Water for their game day specials. So we'll see you guys then. Also, like the show before you go here to wrap up the week and help us out quite a bit. Hope everybody has a great Christmas weekend. If I don't talk to you on game day on Sunday, then we'll see you on Tuesday after Christmas, taking the day off on Monday. Appreciate it as always.